Hi everybody, welcome to episode 68 of SmugMug Live. Thank you so much for joining us today. Wherever you are in the world, you are more than welcome here on the show. As always, SmugMug Live is brought to you by SmugMug and Flickr. If you're looking for somewhere to showcase your images online, to store your images in the cloud, and to have an e-commerce solution, then check out everything we have to offer at smugmug.com. If you're looking to be part of an incredible photo community, then please check out everything we have to offer at flickr.com. I'm trying not to laugh because I can see the chat windows going crazy already with people chatting amongst themselves. As always, you are more than welcome to get engaged in that chat window. It's always good to see that chat window being used. First of all, let me know where you are in the world. It's always great to see who's joining us today. I can see many of you interacting with each other, and that is fantastic. But if you have a question for today's guest, then please use the chat window to ask that question, and I will hopefully get that question asked today during the show. And what a show we have for you. I'm so excited to have today's guest on the show, someone I've known for a number of years now, and delighted that she has graced us with her presence to join us on episode 68. So let's head over and see if Valentina Vee is with us. Hi, Valentina, how are you?
Hi, Alastair. What's up? Thank you for having me.
What's up? I love that you're in the chat window chatting to people before the show's even started. So, who is that person with the
Yeah,
blue
I
hair?
see a few people that I see a few people that I know, so hello.
Yes, hello
Thanks for
everybody.
coming.
Yes, lots of people joining us. Let's throw some up on the screen if we can. Gemma's joining us from Boston. Hi, Gemma. Jaime's
Hi,
joining us from
Gemma.
California. Robin's from Arkansas. Arkansas? Where's that? I'm only joking. Um,
Arkansas.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Ark
Got ya.
Listen, I thought you were serious for a second.
Oh, I know my states. Chile, hi from New Orleans. I'm moving upwards in the stream here. It's kind of difficult. Jim's joining us from Minnesota. Radders, good evening from the UK. Where the blue here is normal, if you have any. Yeah, it's good. Sid is joining us from Boulder, Colorado. So yeah, Scott joining us from Illinois. So welcome everybody. Lots of people in the chat already. Valentina, where do we find you today?
I'm in Los Angeles, sunny Los Angeles. It has been a little bit moody here lately, but I think today is it's turning around. It's getting back on track. So I'm happy about that.
It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. Not so glorious here in Scotland at the moment. It's cold, chilly, snowing. So, yeah, kind of polar opposites at the moment, almost.
I mean, snow can be very cinematic.
Well, it can indeed.
Falling slow motion snow, you can use that.
Yeah. So, I said today's show was going to be all about lighting. But before we get to that, how would you describe what you do? Because I know you do lots and lots of things. And just as I said, lighting, your light went out. That's kind of ironic.
My monitor tends to shut off sometimes. I don't know why, but it's actually I'm being lit partly by my monitor.
Yeah, see. So I've known you for a good number of years. I've known you as a cinematographer, as a film editor, as a photographer. You have a lot of strings to your bow.
Yeah, I do. I'm very difficult to describe, which is why whenever I go on any sort of interview, I'm like, I don't know, but I would say content creator is probably the umbrella term. I shoot, I edit, I direct, and it's across both film and photography. I've done TV, commercials, films, and brand campaigns, you name it. So as far as the type of content I do, it's all over the place, but I sort of narrow my focus in what the themes of my content are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you are a one person film creator, photographer, editor. You have all those things that you're able to do. And a lot of times you do them all on the one job as well. Is that right?
Yeah, sometimes I don't love doing them all at once because then I'm sure you know if you're running more than one thing, if you're wearing more than one hat, then something always suffers. Your brain just can't stretch that far. But especially during the pandemic, I've had to do a lot of the jobs myself
Yeah,
just to limit on the number of people on set.
yeah. So where did you get started? What got you into the creative sphere of sort of movies and photography?
I feel like I've always loved movies. I've always loved photography ever since I moved to the United States from Kazakhstan. So it was sort of a natural progression. I studied graphic design at UCLA and minored in film. And then after school was over, I just went straight into the film industry. Luckily, I was already in Los Angeles, so it was fairly easy to just dip my toe in.
Well, if you're going to try and get into the film industry, there's no better place, right? It is
This is true.
the best part of the world to get into the film industry. How many films have you worked on? Do you know?
I've worked on a handful of films. It's hard to say because I started my career at Paramount Pictures in the post-production department. And there it was like we were working on all the Paramount films at the same time, but I wasn't an integral part of the film. You know, I wasn't credited. I was just working in the post-production department. So stuff like Pain and Gain, Star Trek Into Darkness, G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra. And then I went into more indie films and I did 4 or 5 indies. And then I kind of transitioned more into the digital space, the commercial space, because it takes so much effort to put a film together, and unless it's a big studio film, nobody cares.
All great films. We won't mention GI Joe, but all great films.
I mean, I take no responsibility for anything. I was working in an office pushing paperwork. So
Yeah. And when did you break out of the office and start getting behind the camera?
in around 2013, when I joined this collective called We Make Movies in Los Angeles. It's a filmmaking collective full of artists, writers, directors, actors. And at the time, We Make Movies had a deal with YouTube Space, which is this great location in Los Angeles that allows YouTube creators to shoot for free. So they had a deal with YouTube Space and with Red Cinema. So I was able to use those connections to shoot a bunch of shorts for We Make Movies, and that's kind of how I got into it. And a lot of the contacts I still have from We Make Movies, I still work with them today.
That's great. I'm looking at the chat here. There's some comments already about your tattoo. Lillian, I think you know Lillian. The tattoo is still
Yeah.
going strong. LOL.
Yeah,
There's a backstory.
I have a fake tattoo that I've been just trying out, and it didn't used to look this bad, but now, as you can see, it's very much faded. But I think from afar, it still kind of looks badass. So I'm trying to get rid of it. I'm trying to like wash it off, but it's not doing the best right
So
now.
those bits came off early, and then the other bits just don't want to move.
It's the worst, actually. Maybe I should just go in on a real one, and this won't happen.
Just use that as the stencil for a real one.
Do you have any tattoos?
Yeah, but I can't show them just now. Not live on air.
Oh, okay.
That's an off stream discussion for sure. So moving along very quickly before we start talking about things we don't want to talk about, I'm going to pull up some imagery here that we can have a look at because this is probably when I first met you. This is the Valentina I knew behind the camera, running and gunning, filming stuff. So we've got some behind the scenes stuff here from various parts of your career, I think.
Yeah.
What part of all those different things do you like doing best?
I don't really like choosing a part. I think that there's a lot of filmmakers that I look up to, like Taika Waititi, Joseph Kahn, um, Alfonso Cuarón, who do Guillermo del Toro, who do a lot of things for their films. Like Cuarón, he shot Roma himself. Like he was the cinematographer for
Yeah.
Roma. And so I'm one of those people that's like, you know what, if they can do it, I can do it. Reed Morano's another one. But like I said, it is easier to just do one thing. So Sometimes I'm hired as just the cinematographer. In this case, I was just the director, and I have my cinematographer Andre next to me, who you've
I know.
met,
Yeah, I know Andre. Yep.
and Lixie, who's my producer, right next to Andre. And this was for a poet slash music artist, and this was a viral video that we made called "What Is School For?" And I actually just checked. This video has 18 million views on YouTube, but
Doing
it has
pretty
even
good.
more on Facebook. It has like 100 million on Facebook. It got
Wow.
really viral there, and it was a 1 day shoot. When it was a 1.5 day shoot, we rented an entire school
Hmm.
for a day, and that was an insane amount of money to rent a school for a day.
I bet. I bet. This next image, though, is kind of, I guess, what I hadn't before I met you when we were filming. I knew you as this educator first and foremost. When I thought of Valentina Vee, I thought educator, someone who shares and teaches how to design light. That's how I first met you.
I think a lot of people might think of me as that first because that is, like in film or in the film industry, um, whatever projects I do, I often have to sit on for weeks or months or years
Hmm.
and not talk about and not share. So the things that are the instantly shareable type things that I can talk about on my social media oftentimes are the educational stuff. So I'm a host for 4 Minute Film School, which is a show on the Aputure YouTube channel where I teach about lighting. Pretty much every single episode is a new lighting setup. So in this particular one, we were talking about how to light products. And I was using this diffuser, which is called a Light Dome Mini from Aputure. And you can see that it has these metal rods. Those rods are what you attach the circular diffusion on. You kind of pull the diffusion over the rods.
Hmm.
But the problem is, if you're shooting a reflective surface, in this case, it was sunglasses, you see the
Individual
diffusion
rods.
in, yeah, you see those individual rods in the reflection. So I was taking black gaff tape and hiding the rods with the black gaff tape so that they would recede into the darkness and you would only see that circle of light, not the little rods.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, as you just explained, you do craft light, right? You design light, you craft it, and a lot of times engineer solutions for issues that people have on site when it comes to lighting.
I think a lot of it is, yeah, see, you can see the sunglasses there. I think a lot of it is creative problem solving and knowing uh, that you have tools in your arsenal that you can always go to and bringing those with me. So I always have some clamps. I have some gaff tape available, always like a little pocket light that I can throw up on something if something is receding into darkness. Some Duvetyne at all times, like a large sheet of Duvetyne. I just did a shoot for what did I do it for? I don't know if I could say for OWC, which is a company that makes hard drives,
Yep.
and our location had this it was an emergency light that was up at on the ceiling that we could not turn off. We could not
Right.
find the switch for it anywhere. It was just there and it was constantly pinging our actual set. So I climbed up on a chair and then I put my because we didn't have any ladders. But so I had a chair and then I put down my equipment case on the chair and I climbed up on it and I had some clamps and I had my giant roll of Duvetyne and I just clamped it to the light itself so that it wouldn't play on our scene. But I think it's those kind of troubleshooting things that I live in that world
Yep.
mostly.
Yeah. And if anybody hasn't seen your series of videos at Aputure, it's incredible. I've learned so much just watching those live streams and videos that you've done there. Even as a photographer, as a stills photographer, there's so much you can learn from movie lighting. It's just lighting at the end of the day.
Yeah, and for my photography, I use continuous lighting all the time
Yep.
too, because it does help to be able to see with your eye what the scene looks like instead of having to take test shots all the time, especially if you're working with, for example, a celebrity who only has like 2 minutes of their time to give to you. It just helps if you can adjust it and immediately see it and not have to be running back to your camera, taking a photo, blinding them, pissing them off. So,
Yeah, can't piss
Luckily,
off
a
the
lot of
talent.
these lights these days, a lot of the film lights are just so easy to maneuver.
Yeah. A couple of questions coming in. I knew we'd get this one, but it's a very appropriate question. Whitney asks, "What is Duvetyne?"
Duvetyne is a very thick black fabric material that filmmakers use to basically hide things. They can either like say there's an ugly vent on the ceiling, right? Wrap it in Duvetyne and it recedes into shadow, or say that you have a light that is pinging off a bunch of walls and it's a giant light and a giant wall. So put some Duvetyne on a C-stand, hang it there, and then it won't affect the rest of your scene. There's a lot of tricks that we use for negative fill. Like right now, I have negative fill on this side of my face where it's like darker on this side. So we'll use stuff like black wrap, which is kind of like tin foil, but it's black, or it's also called cinefoil. Duvetyne. We'll use black floppies, black flags. We'll use barn doors. Any way to close up and shape light. That is what I do. Literally, it's just bringing in light is just as important as taking away light. If not, taking away light might be even more
Even more
important.
important, yeah, yeah. But black cloth, Duvetyne. You probably noticed that most people on set wear set blacks. They wear black clothing so that they hide. They don't reflect in windows and that type of stuff. And Duvetyne can be used to hide all sorts of things that are reflecting or lights, or it's yeah, just one of those things that you have to have along with your gaffer tape, I guess.
Speaking of set blacks, yeah, you always have to wear black on set.
Yep.
And this guy reached out to me, the capsmith who makes hats,
Mm.
for like, hey, do you want a hat collaboration? And I said, yeah, could you make a hat that says one more for safety? Because it's the phrase that I always say on set, I just want to get one more take for safety.
Yep.
And he's like, what color do you want it? And I'm like, black's the only, like, it's the only color. We can't do a different color because this is the only one I can wear on set. So
He'd have got bonus points if he'd done black on black with the writing as well.
that would have been, yeah. But the white is fine, and every time I wear it on set, people get a nice kick out of it because
Yep.
sometimes I don't even have to say the phrase. I just point to my
Just
hat.
point to it. One more.
Yeah.
You mentioned Kazakhstan. Tap Channel would love to know, when did you move to the US? They don't hear an accent at all.
I moved when I was 7, so it was a lot more impressive when I didn't have an accent by 10. But
Hmm.
now that I'm 28, it's much less impressive.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just checking through. I think we're okay for questions. But yeah, folks, keep those questions coming in because there's a lot of chat today going on amongst yourselves, which is awesome. If you're going to ask a question today, start it with the word question dash. That way I'll be able to find it much easier in the chat window. Let's go back to some of these on-set pictures. So we know that you craft light and you use lots of lighting. Sometimes you use just a single light, but I've known you to use many, many lights. But again, this is probably where I recognize you most behind the camera. How much time have you spent learning those two different crafts, the crafts of operating a camera and being a cinematographer, and then the craft of lighting, two very distinct things?
I don't know if they are distinct, although some people might disagree. So this is actually a really good point to talk about
Mm-hmm.
because I know a lot of cinematographers don't know anything about lighting and they're just camera people. And I personally think that a cinematographer should know about lighting, should be able to communicate at the very least what they need in their lighting setups. But I've definitely put in my 10,000 hours on both, uh, a lot of times overlapping. But for sure, I've been shooting for a lot longer than I've been lighting. I got into lighting around 5 years ago, but I've been shooting for since I was 7 years old. Um, and a lot of it was natural light. My very first thing that I got to help me light was, the 5-in-1 pop-up reflector. It has like a gold side, a
Oh,
silver
yeah.
side, a white side, a black side, and then it has a diffusion. And that's what I had for like a year. And all I would do is go to I was, studying at UCLA, so I would just go up to like grad students or students in the film program, like, hey, can I help? Can I PA? Can I assist? I'll bring my reflector. Like I was always like, I have a reflector. And they always said, yeah, because, free labor. And also I had a reflector.
That's cool. It's funny you mentioned the reflector, 5-in-1 reflector. I was using one today and achieved that moment in my life where I had to teach my kids how to fold one up, right? Which is a huge skill in the industry. So yeah, we had lots of fun today in the house folding up a 5-in-1 reflector, and then I got out a big scrim, which was about, it's a 6-foot scrim, so we tried folding that up as well. So lots of fun at home today with reflectors. You can never have too many of those.
Yeah, folding a reflector is definitely a prank that I like to play on green PAs. I just give them the unfolded disc. I'm like, fold that up. And it's just fun to see them struggle and try to figure it out. They try to like turn it into a figure eight. And it's just a harmless prank. I also do it with there's some soft boxes that are rod style
Yep.
where you have to put them into the speed ring one at a time. And there is a way to do it, which is like every uh opposites, right? You put the rod in and then you put the rod in across from it to have like a counterbalance. But I always like to watch PAs struggle to put the rods in because they're always trying to, go in a row and it's just always keeling over. So
Yeah, I was super disappointed today when showing my daughter, who's 10, how to fold the reflector. She did it instantly. And then I realized for years,
genius.
no, for years she had these little pop-up play tents, which are the exact same principle. So she had learned that secret many times before. Right, got some questions coming in before. I'm going to look at some of your still images actually in a moment, but before we get there, Whitney asks, just out of curiosity, what was your first stills camera? Can you remember?
That would have been a Sony Cybershot. It was like a little 3.1 megapixel one from 2003. And I actually have a photo of it on my Twitter. I can actually pull it up and tell you the exact brand. And let's see, it was a Cybershot 3.2 megapixel Sony. Um, I can't read what it was, but yeah, it was like this small. And I was very thrilled with it. I'll put the link to that tweet in the live chat so you can see it. There it is.
Cool. In the chat, if you want to go have a look at that. And then another question, which you are probably the best person to ask this question, is what is a good starter lighting kit you suggest for someone who's barely getting started in lighting? That's a great question for you.
Yeah, one sec. Let me grab the light so I can show you.
Not only are you going to get an answer, you're going to get a demo. You're going to get to actually see what she recommends.
Okay.
Yes.
So this little light, this is called an MC light, just like the letters MC, and it is what is actually lighting up. This is my hair light today. So if I turn it off, you can see the difference that it makes, and it's only at like 5%.
Hmm.
But essentially, it is probably the most flexible little light that you could get because it is super, super bright. It's also RGB, which means it can change colors. So right now it's on blue, and it's at 20% and it's already blowing out everything. But you can also, let's see if I just do it just to basic, just basic white light. Um, there we go. And you can obviously adjust the color temperature. So let's see, 5600 basic. It's at 100%. Look how bright that is. And that is this tiny little MC. It comes with a little diffusion here. So you can do that and make it softer. This is honestly like probably my biggest secret. I bring a couple of these on every set because they always seem to come in handy. So I would highly recommend picking up, and they're also pretty cheap. So I
Yeah.
would highly recommend picking up one or two of these.
Yeah. And just as a little secret, I have one here too.
Oh, are you being lit by one too?
The little MC up here. I have some diffuser in front of it though because just to soften it up a little bit. But Yeah,
Yeah.
they are so bright. It's incredible. And super easy to charge and power and yeah,
Oh,
lots
and they're magnetic.
magnetic. Yeah, you can stick them places.
Yeah, so I have like my stand here. If I just pull it into the shot, you'll be able to see it
Yep,
right here. Oh,
a little bit
come
closer.
in.
There we go.
There it is. Right? So if you want to stick it to a stand, voila, there it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, great, great lights. Yeah, so Whitney came back since she has the same light. There you go. You're getting started well. Do you use it for stills too?
Yeah, absolutely. I use all my lights for stills as well.
Yeah, I think more and more of us are going to continuous lighting now for stills when we can. It's just yeah, it's just much more convenient. And when you're used to using continuous lighting in one, stills or video, then it's very easy to use them across both. Sorry, question here is from Robin. I don't use a studio. All my photography takes place at various places. What do you suggest for lighting equipment in those types of environments? I have external flash, but that's all. Well, again,
Yeah,
these little
maybe
things
you
are
could show
cool. Yep.
I have a photo in the kit that I gave you that is just like a woman by a pool and she's wearing blue. Maybe I could talk about that because that was done on location with just one strobe light and that's it.
This image.
So that's it. Yeah. So that was just a strobe light pointed directly it was kind of camera left. I think there's a lot that you can do with natural light. There's also a lot that you can do with just one light. It really does depend on how you're using the sun as well. So you can see in this image, the sun is actually behind her. So it's giving like that really nice rim light on her legs and it's shining through her outfit. So I just used one strobe to pop her out from the front and give that like really nice having a naked strobe with absolutely no diffusion on it, especially on darker skin, creates that really nice rounded effect, that gradation, that specular highlight, if you will, on the skin, and it looks really nice. So it's all about knowing how to do angles and how to do composition. So in this case, I wanted a leading line from the bottom left to the top right. So I completed that leading line with her outfits. So you can see the architecture and the outfit works together. And also the colors as well, because she's wearing blue and the pool is blue. There's the same amount of blue on the left side of the image as on the right side of the image.
Yeah, nice
So it's a
balance.
very balanced image and well lit, but with only one strobe.
Yeah, and yeah, use the sun to your advantage. I don't know what part of the world you're in, Robin, but oh, she says I do rely on sunlight a lot, so that's great to know. Sometimes I find you mentioned it earlier when you have sunlight, you have a strobe. A lot of the work is in the removing light. Finding the position to put the person, finding the right way to craft a light that you can't control, like the sunlight. So positioning and removing light's almost as important as that addition of light with the strobe that you have. Would you agree?
I would agree. If at all possible, I like to location scout the place the day before because then I could pull out an app like Sunseeker or Photo Pills and I could see where the sun is going to be at what time because I really care about what's in the background and whether or not I can use the sun to my advantage. And that kind of lets me choose locations or say no to a location or say yes to a location just to where the sun's going to be at the time that I'm going to be shooting there.
Yeah, you'll have heard me mention Photopills on this show before. It's a great app for knowing where all light sources are going to be, whether it's moon or stars, the Milky Way, the sun, and you can travel in time with Photopills, which is awesome. So you can be in this location and find it, see where the shadows and the sun's going to be any day in the future, which is magic,
Yep, that's
right?
the one I have. So I use Photo Pills pretty much on every location scout.
Robin's asking, what kind of strobe do you use?
I use a just a cheap like Chinese newer strobe
Hmm.
because you know what, it works.
You're fighting
So,
It's funny. I knew that there was two things I knew were going to happen today. One, because we're talking about lighting, I knew I was going to be outlit today by Valentina. I knew she would turn up, and I'd look all flat and have no contrast and no shaping. Normally, people are saying, "Alistair, you look so good compared to your guests," but I knew today I was going to be outgunned.
oh,
But I also knew
you're
at
so
some point
nice.
today, one of our lights would pop out and turn off, or something would happen.
Yeah, I should have expected it because I did a live stream yesterday
Hmm.
and I had not charged the light since. So, but guess what? I charged this one and
Yeah,
I have two of them. So, here we go. There
yeah.
we
So
go.
Robin was asking what the app is again. Well, I've just put it in the chat window. Photo Pills.
There
You'll
you go.
find it on in the App Store and other places. I think it's like $10 or something. It's a great app and so powerful. If you ever want to shoot lunar eclipses or golden hours or blue hours, and all that information is in there. And it's a wonderful, wonderful team that makes that app, and cracking community of people involved at PhotoPills. So yeah, check it out. Right, let's look at some more of your images, seeing as we've got them. So let me come here and I'll scroll back to the beginning of these images. This one intrigued me. Tell us a little bit about this image.
Oh, so this is my former roommate. She moved back to France, but when we were living together, her boyfriend, who's in the French Air Force, came to visit. And she knows that I do photography. So she said, "Hey, could you take a nice couple photo for us?" And I said, "All right, meet me at sundown on the freeway overpass and let's do a photo shoot." So, and I also got an assistant and I got a strobe light with a big octagon octagonal diffusion softbox. And so this actually, if you turn your head to the right, you can see that the freeway is going underneath them and they are actually laying on their side with more cars going on the overpass. And you can see the buildings in the background, the city lights of Los Angeles. So I kind of thought, these railings that are on the overpass, they kind of look like a ladder.
Yep.
So if I turn the camera to the side, if I shift the perspective, then it'll look like the two of them are like climbing out of some sort of, apocalyptic hellscape and like clinging on for their lives. I also brought a little stool for them to kind of balance their butts on. So they're not literally, hanging on with just their arms, but I photoshopped the stool out. And this is a long exposure flash image. This is why I needed a strobe light. A lot of times I'll choose the strobe over continuous if I'm doing a specific technique, and I do long exposure flash quite a lot where I'll set the exposure to something like 15 seconds or 30 seconds. You have these fast moving lights that are happening from the cars. And then within that exposure, I will strobe an extremely bright strobe for just one like nanosecond. And that's what causes them to be um, completely sharp while everything else is blurry.
Yep, great technique, but not just a great technique, a great interpretation of that technique, and probably not the cute couples portrait they were anticipating you were going to do.
You know what? I also did a really cute couples portrait for them in front of like some, like a really cute basic photo, but this is the one that they printed
Yep.
really large and hung it in their apartment now in Paris. So, it's hanging up and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. This is a great shot. Uh, Another interesting shot. Now, this one I know you've shared with me before. This image has a lot of editing, which unfortunately I can't show at the moment. You sent me a little sort of build up of all the editing on this shot, but you do a lot of editing as well as your retouching and
Yeah, I
lighting
can
and
put
stuff.
the editing in the chat
Put it
room.
in the chat. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll put that. I have a little GIF of the build out for this. Essentially, her leg wasn't in that spot. The shrubbery pretty much ended like halfway down the picture, and I had to add more shrubbery. And a lot of the lighting I built inside of Photoshop. Um, this was we were doing a this was in college, and we were
Mm.
doing a trip to Murphy's Ranch, which closed now. But if you look it up, it's actually like a former Nazi holdout in Los Angeles. It's this crazy like bunker where neo-Nazis used to have their meetings, and it's just like graffitied all over and it looks wild. And I don't know why we as college kids decided to like take a field trip there, but we did. And there was this ravine where I saw, like, we were walking and I saw this truck that was just like abandoned in this ravine. And I thought, ah, a photo opportunity if I've ever seen one. And this was with two lights, with two strobes. I had a strobe in the front, and then I had a strobe giving her that hair light from the back. And I it didn't actually look that good. Um the raw photo, the original photo did not look good at all. So I had to do quite a lot of editing to get it to something that I really liked. But I think what you're seeing as far as like the the progression of my art is I like weird photography. Like I like stuff that doesn't look normal. And I really love playing with composition and leading your eye. So her leg was outside the window in a different shot. So I grabbed that and I photoshopped it into this shot. And um, the pose was like very weird. Like the weirder, the better. So that's kind of where I live with my photography. I'm constantly trying to out weird myself.
It's not
Here,
a
I'll put it
bad
in
thing.
chat and you can go to that Instagram link, and it's like the second thing in the carousel. You could see it
Yep.
building up.
No, thanks for sharing that. And your all your Instagram and social links are in the description below the video as well if people want to find those. Next image. Um, I love the.
This was when I first got my strobe, and I also had a friend visiting. And this was back when I was offering like for influencers, I was offering these packages where we would go all over LA, and we would I would just take a like 400 photos of them. They could bring as many outfits as possible, and I'd take them to all these iconic locations around Los Angeles, and we would just knock out photos for their social media for like the rest of the year and pretend that they're always in LA when in fact they are maybe in Arkansas or something, right? So this was one of those
Arkansas.
Arkansas. This was one of those, and I think it was quite racy for her because she's at the time anyway, she was quite a like PG influencer. So we did the shot where as she is twirling, I do a strobe. And this is again a naked strobe. You could see because of the shadow underneath her chin, it's very sharp. So there's no diffusion on it. And I was using the sun as a rim light again. And I love shooting with strobes that are not diffused, especially for beauty. There's something that I really love about the wrap on the skin. There's something I really love about the spectral highlights.
Yep.
Um, and this again was a case where I had to use a strobe because at the time I number one didn't own any lights that would overpower the sun. So continuous lights anyway.
Yep.
Uh it just takes so much power to and such a huge light and so much battery to the point where you need to bring a generator in order to get a look that's like this with a continuous light. So the strobe is because it's so quick, it requires a lot less power and a lot less battery. So
Yeah. I mean, even with the strobe overpowering, especially in LA sun, takes a lot of watt seconds. So doing it with
exactly.
continuous is difficult. But I love the fact that you could make
Sorry, I
money.
had the strobe back there.
Yeah, I love the fact you could make a living and get commissions photographing influencers for their entire year's kind of campaigns on social. What a world we live in that you could just photograph them all day long, give them all these beautiful pictures so that they can then just drip feed them on their Instagram feeds.
Exactly. Yep. And we did a whole day. We did the beach, we did LACMA, we did downtown. This is like Mel's Drive-Through, which is an iconic location in
Yeah.
Hollywood. So, yeah.
Next image.
This was the same girl from um the pool shoot. So this is
Hmm.
my friend Maya, and she had like a free trip to Mexico. Like she had free tickets to Mexico. So we were like, you know what? Let's go. Let's go to Mexico. Let's rent an Airbnb. Bring whatever outfits you want. I'll bring my camera and lighting, and let's just be creative. So this was just a creative exercise. This was also quite heavily edited, and I have the before and after, I think, on my Instagram. But for me, this was all about negative space and how to use negative space effectively. So I actually, the cactus and the wall were like way taller than they are in this image. So what I had to do was I had to lower the cactus and the wall so that they would be like way lower so that and add more sky to it
Hmm.
and kind of elevate that. So to play with the negative space, I also cleaned it up a lot. There were like little cacti and things in the ground. There was a door on the right wall that I took out. You can still see the landing, like the little
Threshold.
threshold to the
Yeah.
door I left in there, but the door is out of there. And this was all natural light. So this was just harsh sunlight. And I waited until it was in the exact spot that I wanted it. As you can see, the shadow from the right wall on to the back wall, it doesn't quite reach that first cactus.
Hmm.
So if I had waited even like a minute, it would have overshadowed, and there wouldn't have been all of those horizontal or all of those vertical leading lines,
Yeah.
which I really really wanted because it complements her outfit as well. There's all these like vertical lines in her outfit, vertical lines in the image. Cactuses have, and especially the cactus on the left, it has all of these kind of protrusions. So I made her do this with her hand to kind of mimic it so that everything has a balance.
Yeah. It's great. Very sort of fashion editorial feel about it. Really great.
Hmm.
Great shot and great timing. We've had a little look at this shot already because I skipped to that one. Yeah, trying to weird yourself out. You said you're always trying to out weird yourself. Tell us a little bit about this
Yeah.
one.
This was my friend Christina. She goes by Crispy. And this was actually, I was shooting a video for her for the makeup brand Urban Decay. And so all of these lights are continuous lights. All of these lights are film lights. And you can see this shot in my reel, which I'll link it on the um in the chat room. You can see the shot in my reel where she's walking down this hallway and the lights coming in from each of the doors are flickering and the lights up top are flickering. So I Aputure lights, they're all controllable via the same Bluetooth system. So I could like flicker them
Hmm.
from my phone as I'm pulling back on the camera. But then I thought this would really make a great still image as well. So this was me just halfway through the video flipping my camera to photo mode and giving it a little bit of a Dutch angle so that it's a little bit more of an eerie feeling.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a motion version of this as well.
That's interesting. Yeah, that sort of Dutch tilt, as we say in these parts of the world, that Dutch angle, it just gives you
Hmm.
that feeling of unbalance and uneasiness, and yeah, it works very well in this image. Yeah, I love the you mentioned about being able to do things with the MCs and stuff where you can actually make them mimic different things like TV sets or emergency lights. There's a lot you can do with that very small light.
And
Yeah,
they have built-in settings like faulty bulb, for
yeah.
example. And for that image in particular, the other reason that I wanted to give it that Dutch tilt was because her head was tilted.
Hmm.
So if I gave it the Dutch tilt, it would right her head, but everything else would be tilted. You know what I mean? So it actually made
Skew off everything
sense
else.
to do that. Yeah.
There's a whole series of images that you did during the last year when we've been stuck at home. trying to be creative without traveling like many of us normally do.
Yep.
And a lot of them feature this mask. Yeah,
Yeah, that is a fashion version of a plague doctor mask. So
plague
back
doctor.
during the Black Plague, uh, plague doctors or doctors used to wear these masks, and they're shaped like birds because they would be basically operating on people who are rotting or
Yep,
smelly or like disgusting. So they would put some sort of like incense or flowers
stuff it
or
in there. Yeah,
something that smells good in the beak of their mask so that they don't like pass out from disgust. Obviously, doctors don't use plague doctor masks now, but we thought that this would be like very appropriate for
a
um
pandemic.
kind of a commentary on a pandemic, right? So this was kind of week 1 or 2 of the pandemic where there was a run on the toilet paper. I don't know if you had this.
Oh, we did.
Did
That
you have
happened.
this?
Yeah, that happened all over the world. Everybody freaked out about toilet paper everywhere.
Yeah, luckily, I had purchased over the holidays, I had purchased like two giant, like Costco sized, um, giant like containers of toilet
Yep.
paper. So we had like rolls and rolls and rolls of this stuff. So we built it up into this tower above our toilet. And we decided we're going to do a photo shoot series of doing normal things, but being freaked out about it because we're in the pandemic. So this was mostly strobes. I had one continuous light outside the window with a green gel on it. And then I put two flashes up, and then it was only two flashes. Yeah, there was one with a pink gel that was kind of by the toilet, and then I had another strobe with a yellow gel, and I was literally holding it like this. And this was on a 14 millimeter lens on a full frame camera because our bathroom is tiny. I cannot overemphasize how tiny our bathroom is. So I wanted it to look expansive and I wanted it to look big. So this was our like, yeah, I'm still shaving my legs even though it's a pandemic. I'm still shaving my legs because, we were hoping that it would be over soon, right? It's
Yeah.
like this is only week 1.
It's a great commentary though on the time that we were in. With the backstory of all the toilet paper and then doing ordinary things but having a plague mask on. It's really interesting. But what I love during your commentary about that image is how the crossover between the movie world and the stills world with you is really when it comes, I think, to the colors that you use, the gels and the different colors of lighting, which I think a lot of people in the stills world shy away from.
Mm.
They'll use daylight flashes and strobes, but they'll maybe use a CTO or whatever. But you use a lot of color in your work. As
Yeah,
she
I can
reaches
actually.
behind for examples, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly. No, you can. Okay, so somebody in the chat room asked me what flashes I use, so I'll show you that right now. I have my little container of strobes. So again, like I'm not sponsored by any sort of strobe company, so I just get cheap ones. These are again from Newer, like whatever, just the cheap on-camera strobes. But I do have remote triggers, so I trigger them remotely from my camera, and then I cut out all of these little pieces of every type of gel that you can think of, and they're all over. They're actually still attached to this one. This one still has the pink one on it. And yeah, I just keep them in here in this little pocket and I tape them on with gaff tape. They're never going to burn because these lights they don't heat up enough to burn. And that's what I use. So those are my flashes. And then my strobe, a bunch of other stuff in here. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, these are the triggers. They're in here. So, well, this is a converter for a stand, but yeah, I just use little triggers like this. Nope. Okay, it ain't gonna work. It's
It's
fine.
focusing on your eyes all the time there. But yeah, It's amazing what we can do nowadays with, manual flash and the accessories that we can get now for the remotes from places, like Newer and stuff. They're so cheap compared to what we used to have to
They're
pay.
so cheap.
Yeah.
So this is the one that I use. This is the newer Vision 4. This is my giant strobe that I use for a lot of my photography. And what I like about it is that the batteries are, you don't have to have a generator. You don't have to have a big bank. The batteries are interchangeable. And it kind of, a lot of times if you're shooting somewhere and you don't want to put up a stand but you have a spare person, this literally has a hand grip here, so you just have the person stand there and like just aim it like this, and it works fine. So
Yeah. Those voice activated light stands, as we call them.
exactly.
Yeah, they're good. There's so many great things. Jefferson Graham is in the channel today. Hi, Jefferson. Good to see you. How many flash units do you pop on these photos? 1, 2, 3, 10, 12? How many?
I mean, it depends on the photo.
How many do you think's your record on an image or set?
Oh, probably like, I don't know, 12 or maybe 15, but not all continuous.
Yeah.
It's usually, if it's a photography, it's a mix, probably. If it's video, it's obviously all video lights. No, I think, yeah, 15. 15 is probably the max.
Those
Yeah.
little MCs, I think they come in. You get a box that a case that they come in with 12 in them, and they all charge at the
Mhm.
same time. They're pretty cool. I love these.
Yeah, the
Right,
box charges them.
yeah, it's awesome. Right, I'm going to pull up another image in this Plague Doctor series. This one's actually GIF, so it should actually play on screen. Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
This is a cool image. Tell us about this one.
This was about our sadness that my roommate couldn't have a birthday party. Liz couldn't have a birthday party. This was again at the start of the pandemic. Her birthday's in March. So she was one of the first birthday babies to not have a birthday party. So this was in lieu of a birthday party. I thought, what is the saddest? Oh, also because the supermarkets were out of food, there was nothing that we could buy except for beans. So
Birthday
I
cake.
bought a can of no birthday cake. It's a can of beans, but I actually created my own label. So it's called Quarren beans, and the beans on the label I also photographed. So the entire label's custom, and I thought it would be pretty cool to have this kind of cinematograph where not only is there a candle on the beans instead of a cake, but also there's just, it's all lit by candles. Obviously, it's not all lit by candles. I have a backlight and I have a front light, and but yeah, I thought it would be fun. Obviously, I didn't drip candles all over an existing table. I took a piece of black foam core, and I had all these candles left over from a previous project from a few years ago. And I spent like 20 minutes artistically dripping them and sticking them and making sure that like the shorter candles were in the front and the longer candles were at the back. And then I actually stuck the two MC lights, these guys, inside of the mask, inside of the plague doctor mask, so that the eyes would have light shooting out of them as well. So she couldn't see anything. She was holding sharp objects, and there was fire underneath, literally underneath her arms. So it was a lot of trust in me to make
Absolutely.
sure that we got this image right. And then what I did with the flickering on her skin, that was actually all done in post. So I masked the underside of her arm and her body, both on the left side and the right side of her body. So there is flickering on the left side of her body. It's just not as intense.
Hmm.
And then I flickered the intensity of the effect. And there's also a tiny little detail on the edge of the knife. You can see the reflection of the candles on the edge
Yeah.
of the knife, but because she was holding pretty still, but obviously not as still as a photo. So in order to get that perfectly still, I literally had to keyframe it frame by frame and reposition just that knife reflection for every single frame of this cinematograph.
See, lots of lots of work and lots of little details that you perhaps don't notice, but when it all comes together, it's incredible and super effective. A question here from Gary. Hi, Gary. Good to see you again. How much planning do you do to get the photo you're looking for versus just grabbing some props and winging it?
I plan everything to the smallest detail, absolutely everything. I will spend, this is something that I picked up from my friend Benjamin Von Wong, who I've worked with for many, many years, who is an incredible photographer.
Great mutual friend of ours. Yep.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's actually how I found out about SmugMug in the first place
Yep.
because he was a SmugMug ambassador. But
Indeed.
he spends months, months planning every detail, and then he takes one photo. Or he'll take, several photos, but he'll end up choosing one photo. And he's actually way better than me because he doesn't do any Photoshop. That's his whole thing. Everything is live, everything is what you see. And I do a lot of Photoshop and I do a lot of editing to mine. And he doesn't. So kudos to him.
Yeah, but two great outcomes, irrelevant of how you approach it. But yeah, good shout out to Ben there, a wonderful ambassador for SmugMug and a dear friend, and hopefully we'll catch up with him at some point in the future when we can all start traveling again. But great question, Gary. Yeah, Valentina is definitely a planner and a designer and engineer. So it all comes together beautifully. Let's have a look. See, I think I've got another image in this series. Let's see. Yes, indeed. This one is kind of cool.
Yeah, so this one was I there is one regret I have with this in that I was trying to hide the Apple logo by putting a cover on the laptop,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think it looks very much like a laptop. So if I were to redo this, I would just Photoshop the Apple logo out, but take the cover off so that you can clearly see it's a laptop. But this one, another entry into my quarantine photo series. This time, you're trying to do a Zoom and with your colleagues, and literally the only part of your life that you have together is the immediate area behind you that your colleagues can see. And everything else is just crap. It's just awful. And so that is what this photo is trying to convey. I'm sure that we can all relate to this. You don't want to see what the rest of my room looks like.
Yeah,
This
it's
one
like
corner is perfect.
there's a reason why these frames are framed the way they are, right? It's all beautiful, but over here and over here it's not so. But I'm glad to say I don't actually have uneaten pizza lying about or underwear. It's a very well staged set. I did like it a lot. It's really good.
Yeah, this was also a couple of tricks that I pulled because obviously the lighting that's on her is not coming from the laptop.
Yeah,
Um, and I wanted the area on the wall to be very specific, and I wanted you to think that this is what they're seeing. So I actually have a light that is a very directional light that I closed off with barn doors, and it's hidden behind the laundry basket, and it is hitting behind her, past her, onto the wall. So that wall light, that's a completely separate light, and the shadow from her head that is completely photoshopped in, like there was no
right.
shadow obviously because the light is coming from a completely different direction. The light that's on her face is actually an MC light, one of these that I taped to the screen because the screen did not give me um enough light for the effect that I
Yeah,
wanted. And then everything else is lights that I gelled with yellow because it's the opposite on the color spectrum, right? It's blue and yellow. So those are contrasting colors. But also because yellow is a lot more disgusting of a light than orange, which is what you typically see, blue and
yeah,
orange in a lot of things. So it's a little bit of a different vibe. It's a lot more disgusting. And then after I took this photo, I went ahead and masked the blue areas in Premiere Pro, and I played around with the intensity, with the hue values, just to give it that sort of active flicker.
yeah. Came together very well, and it's those details where you actually choose the color yellow to make it more kind of sickly looking rather than just using an orange. And it's those details that I love about the work that you do. It makes it so much better storytelling, and really makes you feel or makes the viewer read the photograph the way that you want them to. So love it. Right, going to go over to some questions, and there's a couple of quick geeky questions about gear, which we knew we would get today because we all love the gear. Love First, great name. I think it says, if you had to pick 3 lights to buy and you only had $500, what would you do? And you need a key light, etc. You're starting from scratch. Do you have any
Oh,
advice?
finally. Well, I guess I would just want to know, are you buying continuous lights or are you buying flashes? Because those are um different price categories. So, are you wanting to do any video with these or are they exclusively flashes?
Yeah, well, wait. It takes there's about a 30-second delay between us and the live stream going out, so we might not hear back. So hopefully, Love First will come back with some more details about what those kind of lights are. Lillian asked, the strobe that you were holding, is that a Bowen's mount that it has?
Mm-hmm. It is. And most Aputure lights, which are the film lights that I use, are also Bowen's mount. So if you're used to photography and you have soft boxes or snoots or something that are Bowen's mount, those can directly transition into the film world.
Yeah, very. You can get all your modifiers and stuff and
Yep.
transition them back and forward. Right. I'm just looking back to see if I've missed any questions. Let's see. So yeah, there we go. Love First has come back and said continuous lighting. So $500 worth of continuous lighting. Can you get a recommendation for Love First?
Yeah, for $500 of continuous lighting, let's see. I would do um a B7C, like I don't know these prices, so I'm just like looking them up. A B7C bulb. So that is something that you can put into a fixture like this and have a color. And so having a practical light in the scene is always really, really nice and can create like a myriad of effects. And also the B7C bulbs are incredibly bright. So I would definitely recommend a B7C for your background. And then let's see, an Aputure, probably a 200D. Let me see how much that is. This one's new, so that's $300. I would recommend a 200D for your key light. That's $300. A B7C bulb is $70. So we're up to $400. And then I would recommend probably a Light Dome Mini for your softbox, a Light Dome Mini 2. So that's actually like 200. So maybe do, instead of a Light Dome Mini, do a lantern softbox. How much is that? 89. There you go. So yeah, I would do a B7C bulb, or one of these, an MC, either one. A B7C bulb is going to be like your practical. An MC is going to be like a really good hair light, or it could be a key light, or it could be a fill light. One of those, a 200D for your main key light, and then a lantern softbox for your softbox.
There you go. Some great advice there. Straight off, straight off the press with all the prices and everything. That's great. Gary Monroe asks, where do you get your ideas from? Do you work mainly off themes like the pandemic?
That's a good question. I don't know where I get my ideas from. The thing is, I don't do a lot of personal work. I very rarely do personal work. Most of the time, I have clients coming to me and telling me what they want or what they need. And then it's up to me to complete their vision. As far as my photography, it's based on a lot of art. I love surrealism. So I look at a lot of surrealist art. I love drag makeup, drag artists, and I like anything that's like macabre. And yeah. So that's what I do, which is completely opposite to like the person that I am, because I'm like a very bright and colorful, bubbly
It's
person.
such a contrast between you in person and the photographs that you create with the dark mood that you have for sure. A few questions about the lighting you have in the room there, actually. So, question from Jonathan: what are the lights around the frame in your background?
Sure. So I have, let's see how many lights I have on. I have one, two, three, four, five lights on me right now. So I have these bulbs. There's one here, and then there's one in that light behind me over there. And they are not B7Cs because they are my room lights. And this is my bedroom. This is where I live. And they are all controlled via voice assistant. I'm not going to say her name, but it starts with an A. And so I can actually also control them all from my phone. So if I wanted to change up the lighting to something like, oh, I don't know, like red, for example, and then I can change the strip light to, let's do like green, you know, or I could turn it up and down in intensity. So this is lights that I live with in my house all the time. I just make everything red if I wanted to. So I don't know the name. It's just like cheap lights on Amazon. They're kind of like Philips Hue, but not really. And the problem with them is that they do strobe. So for example, if I take it down in intensity, you'll start seeing the strobing effect, which is why I don't love them. Let's see here. If you can see it. Probably not because my candle is on.
Just
But
starts kind of phasing a little bit, and strobing with the
it starts having like these horizontal
yeah.
bands happening, and that's why you want to get a film light if you're gonna use it like legitimately for film, because a film light has a high CRI, which means that it is not going to do that strobing. So yeah, these are like the cheap Philips Hue knockoffs. I have an MC that's above me. It's on a C stand. I don't usually have it, but the C stand was already in my room from a previous shoot, so I just leave it there. And then here I have a little Amaran panel. It's Aputure Amaran. It's really old and cheap. It's like really old. It's the 672 Amaran 672, which is about $300, and it is aimed at my wall. But then I have some black wrap that I've wrapped around it so that you so that it doesn't like fall into the rest of the scene. Because if I didn't have the black wrap on it, I'll show you what it would look like. So if I took the black wrap off, you see how it like affects my background. It started pinging off there. It started pinging off the ceiling. So I have this like little black wrap hood that I made for it. And so when I put it on, it takes away a lot of that light and makes it more directional on my face.
Yeah, it's amazing how many of the things that we have nowadays to light our live streams and stuff are DIY, homemade kind of effects, just to shape the light. And things are very similar here. I too have some voice activated lighting by actually by IKEA. IKEA do voice activated lighting now that works with She Who Shall Not Be Named, and likewise I could go through all the different colours of the rainbow with the lighting here. But yeah, and those are really inexpensive now. They started off really expensive, hundreds of dollars per item, but now you can get them relatively inexpensively and create some real cool effects. Right. Before I go to this next image, there's some more questions coming in. Gary asks, dream personal project?
I it's hard to say. I don't do a ton of personal projects, and that's not mainly what I do. So I will say my dream project, though, I would love to adapt my favorite book series into a television show. It's called The Interdependency, written by John Scalzi, and it's just so good. It's so good. And the TV rights were optioned in 2017.
Mm.
Nothing has happened. It's at a standstill, and I've read it like 3 times already. I'm in the process of breaking it down and converting it into scripts, but that would be like the project of a lifetime. I would love to do that. That's like my goal in life.
Well, if you're watching, John, come on, pull some strings. That would be cool.
I
Right.
wish.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah. Let's see. This image might need a little bit of explanation. Did you fall over?
Yes. Right? This was right when we were starting our show with Alaya Lacardi, who is another SmugMug ambassador, an amazing landscape and travel photographer, and he is also a great friend of mine. And he asked me to direct his show Moments in Time. So we went to Florida, and for like 4 days of camera tests. Essentially, Fujifilm sponsored us and gave us all this gear, but I had never worked with it before, and I wasn't about to just fly to Singapore and start using it without giving it proper camera tests. So we tested for things like what is the highest ISO we can go to that's still usable? What is how do the lenses sound when they are autofocusing, and is it too much, or do we need to have a separate microphone, or can we still is it still usable? So like a million different tests. What is the quality, what is the megabits per second that we can use that won't completely eat up all our cards? And after we were done with all the camera tests and we had all the cameras and lenses out, we just decided to put them all on the floor and lay in the middle to kind of kickstart the social media
Yeah.
journey behind this show, because I think a lot of people were following along as we were filming it on social media, so this was
Yeah.
quite fun.
Kicked off the social media with some lay flats of all the gear, and I really like the T-shirt you were wearing. I highly approve of the
There
T-shirt,
we go.
the
Yes.
SmugMug stuff. So, if you haven't come across Moments in Time, which is the name of the series that Elia worked and yourself created, I would highly recommend folk go check it out on YouTube. You'll find it Elia Lacardi's YouTube site. A wonderful travel photography documentary series sponsored by SmugMug and Flickr, which was a
Yeah,
wonderful
yeah, yeah.
opportunity to be involved with. I'm going to play a little bit of his video of the episode 1. I'm not going to put the audio on because I will get a copyright strike for the music probably that's playing in the background. But yeah, we were delighted to work with Alaya and Valentina and the rest of the team in supporting this project where you travelled all over the world, met incredible photographers wherever you went, and had a blast. Right, it was a good time.
It was honestly the best. Not just because we were traveling to all these places, but because of the team. And I love everyone on it. Elia, Naomi, Andre, um, pretty much everyone was so nice, so accommodating. Every single one of the guests was lovely. And I'm very sad that I have not traveled at all in the last year, because I went from doing the show in 2019, and this was 10 different countries that we covered, to never leaving California in 2020. So I'm hoping that I get back out there again soon.
It was a great trip. I can't. I met up with you in Amsterdam for one of the episodes. I can't remember which episode it was. Obviously, it was the best episode because I was in it.
Yeah,
But you
clearly.
know, obviously the best episode. But yeah, I would highly recommend you go check out Elia Lacardi's work in general. But check out Moments in Time if you haven't seen that. You have a lot of catching up to do. There's an incredible series of two seasons of Moments in
Two
Time to check out.
seasons, 17 episodes. There's a lot of good stuff in there. And it's also, I tried to at least make it really fun. So there's like challenges and weird stuff. Like we went to a crazy robot restaurant in Tokyo. We navigated an incredibly busy market in Malaysia trying to do street photography.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much fun stuff in there. And we actually loved the Netherlands so much that we made 2 episodes there.
It's a fun time. And then if you want to see a lot of the community activity that went around Moments in Time, then head over to Moments in Time Flickr group. a wonderful group of people who, got involved in the community around the show and watching the show, and they're all posting their own images. So if you see your own image here, kudos to you for getting that on the group pool. So a wonderful community of people, lots of discussions there on Flickr over at moments in time, and yeah, we were delighted to be part of that. And yeah, hopefully we get to travel again at some point. It's something we're all missing terribly. But yeah, for now, I can't thank you enough. I guess one of the big benefits of us not traveling is we get time to do this. It's the biggest benefit of the last year is getting to catch up with some incredible photographers on this show. So Valentina, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Alastair. This was lovely, and I've never talked about my photography before,
Hmm.
um, because I know that a lot of people on SmugMug, and I know that a lot of my friends like Ben and Alaya, they're professional commercial photographers, and me being more of a director cinematographer, a lot of the photography that I do is just for me. So it's fun to kind of talk about it because I don't really have the time to explain everything that goes into my thought process behind photos. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
No, it's great. It's been great to hear about it. Now, there's lots of places people can go to find out more about you and to learn from you. I've posted a lot of them in the description below, but give us the highlights. Where can people find out more about and more from Valentina Vee?
Well, the first thing, I just released a course with Moment. So you can go to shopmoment.com. It's all about how to do interviews, from how to find guests to how to prep your guests, how to research them, how to ask questions, what kind of questions to ask, how to light the interviews, shoot them, how to edit them, like soup to nuts. So check that out. But as far as like my learning resources, I have a show on Adobe Live called Tips and Tricks Tuesdays, and that's on Behance at 7:30 a.m. every other Tuesday, where I teach my top Adobe tips for video. So whether that is with Adobe Premiere, Adobe Rush, Adobe Audition, or Adobe After Effects, I try to give like the most thorough explanations for different processes within those softwares. And then I also have a weekly show on the Aputure Lighting YouTube page. We might be changing the name of it. Right now it's called 4 Minute Film School, but it's never been 4 minutes. So it's always longer. So, but for now it's called 4 Minute Film School, and you can see it on the Aputure YouTube channel. And I'm excited because the next several episodes are going to be a lot more dynamic. We're changing up the format a little bit.
It's like me, I always say these shows are going to be an hour, and then, an hour comes and goes because we're having such a great time. But yeah, go
Yeah.
check those out. I would highly recommend you head over to Moment and check out how to shoot professional interviews. It's an incredible course. I think it's still on a little bit of discount according to this site at the moment. So yeah, head over there
Yeah.
and check it out.
If you're one of the first 100 people, you get 24% off. And I think it's almost at 100 people. Like there's only a few spots left at that
It
price.
says
So
97 students have this already, so it's incredible. I also want to highlight, if you are a SmugMug customer, if you already have a subscription to SmugMug, then if you go into your perks pages, you will find there is a discount for Moment, one of our partners in the perks program, and you can get discount off their gear, off their lenses and stuff. So that's a little perk for you, those of
amazing.
you that are already SmugMug customers. And then go check out Valentina's course as well and learn some incredible lighting skills, whether you're stills or video. There's a lot of information there for both genres. So lots to learn. Thank you for all that information. I will, as I say, have all those relevant links in the description to this channel. Everybody who's watching, do me a huge favour, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell notification. That really supports everything we do here at SmugMug Live, and make sure that you get notified whenever we have another episode here on the show. But for now, wherever you are in the world, stay safe, be kind, look after each other, and we'll see you back here for another episode. Valentina, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me, and stay safe, everyone.
Absolutely. Bye. Bye.